All right, so first and foremost, let's address the elephant in the room. I have a shaved face right now for the first time in 8 years since I fought in the Golden Gloves in 2015 because I had to be Cowboy Ken yesterday for Halloween. My daughter wanted to all be Barbie, so I was Cowboy Ken yesterday. So on with the beard now. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this Benavidez versus Andrade fight, and I'll tell you guys right now, I don't have too. I'm gonna make a video on it because I'm excited about the fight, but I don't have too much to offer on this one. First of all, because I'm in a rush and I'm leaving to take my daughters to dance in about 10 or 15 minutes or so, and second of all, I haven't watched anything on this fight at all yet. It's still early. We're still like over 3 weeks out at this point. I'll probably start watching shit tonight. Like I'll start watching some film studies, the press conferences and shit and stuff like that. So I'll probably have a more in-depth pick as the weeks go on. But for now, let me give... Bro, what the hell is this? I invited you into my video. I'll probably have a better, more in-depth pick. I don't know if I probably won't get anything on here, so my apologies for that. But it's crazy busy last 3 months, so I'm doing what I can. As far as the fight is concerned, listen, the third reason I'm not going to have too much to offer here is because I'm not overly familiar with Andrade. Yes, I've seen him fight. Yes, I've heard things of him, and I don't want to say like I don't know the guy. I know the guy, but I'm not overly familiar with every fight at every weight class and things like that. I do know that he's a pretty crafty boxer and stuff. I'm not too familiar on his power, on what his power is like and stuff like that. Here's the thing. I'm gonna go with Benavidez in this fight for a couple of reasons. I'll tell you that right off the bat. So first of all, I've been a pretty big advocate for Benavidez for quite some time now, since before the Gavril fights. I've been watching Benavidez, and I've been telling people like, yo, I really think this dude is really gonna make some noise. Like I think he's one of the top guys in this division. Then you had the things that went on with him not making the weight and stuff like that. So there was some bumps in the road, and I know Benavidez has been calling for that Canelo fight for a long time. I thought the Benavidez fight should have happened at this point, man. I mean, I addressed the Charlo thing in the last video. Sure, Canelo versus Charlo sounds great. Here, let me get this off because we're squeaking again over here. Canelo versus Charlo sounds great, but he fought the wrong Charlo. He fought him at the wrong time. It was just... it was one of those things where it's like, all right, cool, I'm kind of glad they're fighting, but this guy's moving up 2 weight classes, and it just wasn't right for me. I just felt like there was other guys that he should have been fighting ahead of that and stuff, and Benavidez is definitely one of them. So we're not going to get into Canelo versus Benavidez. I'm sure that will come in another video in the near future. But like I said, I'm a pretty big advocate of Benavidez, and I'm not talking about being a fan or not being a fan. I'm simply talking objectively about what the guy brings to the fight in the ring and stuff like that. So in the Plant fight, I thought... Let me think of how to explain this. Okay, so there's times that I've been in the ring or boxed against people where I knew they had quicker hands. I knew they had maybe quicker feet or this or that or whatever the case was. But I also knew that at the end of the day, as long as I decided that I was winning that fight, there was no way that person was going to beat me. My wife's cousin Freddie is actually one of those where it got to a point where I was like, you know what? The fuck am I even standing here trying to do this, trying to do that? I know that if I can land a couple of big shots, I can end this fight. So, since he can't hurt me, he's not going to put me down, or this isn't going to happen, or that's not going to happen. I'm not going to let this go to a decision. I'm going to press, and listen, if I have to take some to land one, it's fine, because when I land the one, the fight's going to be over. Benavidez fought Plant in a similar scenario, sequence to that, in my opinion. Not in the sense that, well, I'm just going to land one and end this fight. But it looked to me at times Like, there were moments where it was like, oh, okay, I could see how somebody could beat this dude, Benavidez. And this is not to say that I thought he was unbeatable or anything like that. I'm just trying to make a point. When somebody's undefeated and I'm standing here saying I'm picking this dude to win, I've been saying this dude was this good for a long time now, that doesn't mean that I think dude is unbeatable. But up until that Plant fight, and I'm not saying I never saw Benavidez lose rounds or I thought he was unbeatable or anything, but there wasn't anything that I saw in fights where I was like, oh, I see something here that could probably be exposed. So there were moments, right? Moments in fights where things were happening, and I was like, oh, okay, he better tighten up his defense. Or he better, like when Gavril dropped him with the jab. It was just poor foot placement. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that he was hurt or that he can't take a shot. It was poor foot placement. And it was great timing on the jab. So it's like, all right, well, you got to work on these things. Because whether you were hurt or not, you're losing 2 points, right? You just gave the other guy 2 points. So there were holes. But adjustments were made. Where, okay, this guy's catching him here now or doing this now. But 2 or 3 rounds later, an adjustment was made, and that was taken away. Now what's the guy going to do? And then eventually, Benavidez would win that fight. So it was like, of course, everybody has weaknesses or things that could be exposed, right? But what happens when someone does that? Does that fighter get lost? Or do they make an adjustment? And now, that thing that you figured out, it ain't working no more. Because they made an adjustment. You see what I'm saying? So Benavidez seemed like that to me, where it seemed like anytime anybody figured something out and had something on him, he would either make some sort of adjustment or put on such extreme pressure that it would take that away and it would negate what they were doing that was giving them some early success. In the Plant fight, I feel like I didn't really see that. I felt like I saw a scenario where Plant offered something that Benavidez simply didn't have an answer for. So he then resorted to, okay, you know what? Fuck this dude. He can't beat me. And it doesn't matter if he lands punches or does this or does that. I'm going to fucking come forward like a maniac and I'm going to get this win. And again, Benavidez is very good at that. And I give him credit for that. And his pressure that he puts on people, both mentally and physically, is without a doubt one of his best attributes. But that usually comes without saying. That's just something that he does in a fight. In the Plant fight, it seemed like it was his only option and his only way to win. It seemed like he didn't have an answer for some of the other things that were coming at him. That being said, was Plant able to make the adjustment when Benavidez started getting reckless and able to catch him coming in and stop him? He wasn't. Now, that's not to say that Plant's not a great fighter. Just in that moment, in that particular fight, Plant couldn't get that done. But what happens when somebody else that notices whatever Plant noticed or is doing whatever Plant was doing is able... Sorry, we had a battery going off warning. Is able to implement that for 12 rounds instead of 5 or 6. And when Benavidez says, oh shit, I'm down, let's go, and starts stepping on the gas, you make him pay even more. And you make him take his foot off the gas or else he's going to get knocked the fuck out. Now you put him in a position, does he press for a win and possibly get stopped, or is he okay with just surviving and losing? That's probably how you're going to have to wind up beating Benavidez. And like I said, on that night, Plant wasn't able to do that, but I did see something where I see how somebody might be able to implement that. Now, will that be Andrade again? And I'm sorry for a poor review here, but I just don't know enough about Andrade to really sit here and say, yes, he's going to be that guy. Or, nah, he's not. No shot. It's not him. What I will tell you is, like I said, I'm picking Benavidez to win. The reasonings behind me picking Benavidez to win is, like I said, number one, I like Benavidez as far as what he does in the ring. I think he's a force to be reckoned with at that weight. Andrade, I don't know enough about for me to go out on a limb and pick a guy, pick against a guy like Benavidez on somebody that I don't really know that much about. So that's 2 reasons. Number 3, if I'm not mistaken here, I believe Andrade recently moved up in weight. So that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, but typically, when you look at all the other things in front of it already, right? Benavidez is already at that weight. Benavidez is undefeated. I'm picking Benavidez to win anyway. Andrade's moving up. All this type of shit. It might not mean anything by itself, especially if he's already had 1, 2, 3 fights at that weight class. It's like, all right, well, yeah, he moved up, but that was 3 or 4 fights ago. Okay, cool, but when you couple it with all the other things too, it might play a factor, you know? And the other thing is, I think, and I don't want to say this as if it's a fact, but I get the general consensus that a lot of people tried to outweight Andrade. I know Andrade's been trying to get a Canelo fight for a while too, and Canelo, get the fuck out of here. You fight no one. And I'm not saying Canelo's wrong. I'm just saying I know that Andrade has been trying to get some of these big fights and for the most part has been unsuccessful. So not only does that take away some of that experience that he could have possibly gained, even maybe in a loss, right? Like Canelo took the experience he got in the Mayweather loss and he fucking punished other people for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that Andrade has really had the level of opposition that even where he could take a loss and say, okay, now I'm ready for Canelo now after what I learned in that fight. So, I think the resume could be a problem where you might not have had a guy of that opposition, or even if you had, maybe not often. Benavidez has been, for the most part, aside from not being able to get the Canelo fight, Benavidez has been fighting a lot of the top guys for quite some time now. So I don't really think this is much new for Benavidez. And, you outweight somebody, they get to a point where, let's say because they were so good in their prime, they get to a point where they're not what they used to be, but they're still beating these other guys, right? Okay, cool, but you're not going to beat the David Benavidez's. You know what I'm saying? So if Andrade's getting up there in age, or even if he's just slightly out of his prime and he recently moved up a weight and he doesn't have, all this great name experience on his resume, and I think Benavidez is really good and he's undefeated and all this type of stuff. I mean, everything is just pointing me in the direction of Benavidez. So, I don't want to make a specific prediction here and say that Benavidez is going to stop him because, again, I don't know enough about Andrade. Like, Andrade might have a tremendous chin. I don't know enough about the guy to sit here and say, well, I think he's going to stop him. So I'm going to go with Benavidez by decision at the end of the day. But again, man, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt because I really don't know too much about Andrade. I've seen him fight a handful of times, and I'm just not really up to date on the guy like that. I will be before the fight comes, so if I really notice anything over the next couple of weeks that totally changes my prediction, I will hop on here again really quickly and just throw, a quick update that maybe I'm changing my pick or I saw something. But for now, I'm going to stick with David Benavidez by decision. So, go click one of these videos around here, wherever they at, and entertain yourself for a little bit. You know what I mean? Peace.